This boy, who couldn't even get enough to eat, held up the generator he had built himself and showed it to his father, who was working in the fields. When the wind turned the blades, it actually made the radio play. Seeing this, the father praised the boy. Then John said to his father, "I can build even bigger power generators, so we can pump water from underground to irrigate the land." Now he needed to dismantle his father's only bicycle, but his father didn't believe him at all. He angrily threw the generator out. John was born in a remote village. Life there was very backward. The only electronic device was a radio. The villagers depended on this well for their livelihood. Even though the family was very poor, his father insisted that he go to school. Until one day, a violent storm struck the village. Father desperately tried to save the seeds from the mud, but they were still washed away by the rain. Yet the disaster didn't end after the downpour. The seedlings that had been planted all withered and died from the drought. So father tried digging deeper into the soil, but there was still not a drop of water. However, the family's food supply was down to just 1 month's worth. To conserve food, they ground the corn into flour and cooked it with tree leaves. This was John's family's daily ration. The drought grew increasingly severe. The villagers stormed into John's home and seized all their food. Watching the food being taken away, his mother felt utterly hopeless. Fortunately, the next day the government delivered low-cost grain to sell to the villagers. His mother took all the money they had and sent John to buy some. When John arrived at the sales site, the villagers were rushing forward frantically. With no other choice, John had to squeeze through the door crack. In the end, he managed to buy 20 jeans of grain. Back home, his father looked at the grain they'd bought and suggested they eat only one meal a day. That was the only way to maintain a normal life. One day, John noticed his teacher's bicycle. Whenever the wheels turned, the light bulb at the front would light up. It was this discovery that sparked a bold idea in John's mind. He thought he could build a large power generating device to pump water from underground and solve the drought problem. But there was no power source here. So during his afternoon physics class, he took notes diligently. The next moment, he was kicked out by the principal. It turned out his father hadn't paid the tuition. All the family's money had been spent on grain, and there was no money left for tuition. But John didn't give up, so he sneaked back into the school and found a teacher. The teacher explained the principles of electricity generation again, and told him that the generator on the bicycle was a DC generator. Then the teacher recommended the library, where he could look up information. But John had already been expelled and couldn't get into the library at all. So he began to threaten the teacher, because the night before, he had accidentally witnessed the teacher's romance with his sister. Eventually, the teacher reluctantly agreed, and even personally escorted him to the library. There, John found a book on wind power and studied the success stories within it carefully. However, his invention was still missing some materials, so he went to the dump and searched everywhere for materials. Suddenly, he dug up an old battery from the dirt. Then he found an old water pump. Now he was missing a DC generator, but the only one in the entire school was on the teacher's bicycle. When John got home, he found his sister. He told her his plan, but the next day, the teacher eloped with his sister, leaving behind only a note. When John returned to his room, he saw the generator his sister had left behind. Tears fell once again.